Under a federal law called 287G, 250 members of local law enforcement worked with ICE to identify suspects and arrest them.
They say back in March, sheriff's detectives pulled over a car in Canyon City. Inside was 41-year-old Cesar Martinez Solis and 24-year-old Humberto Amador Gavira. Authorities say both are from Mexico. While searching the car, detectives say they found about 180 boxes of ammunition, each labeled as containing 1,000 rounds.
The two sons of the infamous Sinaloa cartel leader, El Chapo, are trying to break him out of a Colorado prison. Two suspected Sinaloa cartel members have been arrested while transporting a truckload of ammunition less than 20 minutes away from the ADX Florence Supermax prison where the drug is being held. Just a few days earlier, another cartel-linked suspect was also arrested in the same area, transporting around 18,000 rounds of high-caliber ammunition. Now, the real question is, how did these cartel operatives manage to enter U.S. soil, purchase this kind of firepower, and what scale of attack were they really planning? 180,000 rounds of ammunition in Colorado. March 25, 2024. Two suspected Mexican cartel members, 41-year-old Cesar Ramon Martinez Solis and 24-year-old Humberto Ivan Amador Gavira, were driving through Fremont County. They had just passed another vehicle without dimming their headlights, and that small traffic violation gave local deputies a legal reason to pull them over. But nothing could have prepared the officers for what they were about to uncover. As they approached the vehicle, they noticed something off. The car looked overloaded, almost weighed down. That's a red flag for law enforcement, and that gave them the probable cause to demand to search the vehicle. Surprisingly, the driver, Cesar Ramon, gave the officers permission without any hesitation. And behold, when they looked inside, they found box after box of ammunition. Not 5 boxes, not 20, but 180 boxes total, each one holding 1,000 rounds. That's 180,000 rounds of military-grade rifle ammo. To break it down, about 30 boxes were filled with 7.62 caliber rounds, which are most commonly used in AK-47 assault rifles. Then, the remaining 150 boxes were filled with .308 caliber rounds. This one is a high-powered bullet used in long-range rifles and often in military sniper rifles or belt-fed machine guns, which can fire up to 6,000 rounds per minute.
Men are charged in connection to a case out of Fremont County tonight. That's according to the U.S. Attorney's Office of Colorado. While searching the car, detectives say they found about 180 boxes of ammunition, each labeled as containing 1,000 rounds.
No one individual can buy that much ammo for personal use. The average gun owner might buy a few hundred rounds for practice, hunting, or for whatever reason. Even small militias don't buy this much ammo at once. 180,000 rounds is enough to equip an entire unit for sustained combat. And all that firepower was sitting in a civilian vehicle, quietly moving through Colorado. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. According to the federal affidavit, Cesar Ramon and Ivan Amador had flown into Denver just days before the arrest. From there, they drove to Salt Lake City, Utah, where they legally purchased all the ammunition despite being non-U.S. citizens on non-immigrant visas, because under U.S. federal law, it's illegal for them to possess ammunition of any kind. According to court documents, one of the suspects told investigators that he didn't know exactly what the ammo would be used for, but he was instructed to deliver it to a location in Pueblo. Now, the alarming thing is that Pueblo is just a short 40-minute drive from Florence, Colorado, the home to ADX Florence. This is America's most secure federal prison, and it currently holds Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the infamous boss of the Sinaloa cartel. That's right, El Chapo himself is locked up just a few miles from where those two suspected cartel members were headed with enough ammunition to arm an army. Meanwhile, Canyon City, where they were caught, is even a shorter 20-minute drive from the ADX Florence Supermax prison. So now, if we're thinking alike, the questions on your mind should be, why Pueblo, Colorado? What if that ammo wasn't just meant to arm some low-level cartel operatives in Colorado? What if this was part of an elaborate plan by the two remaining sons of El Chapo to break him out of prison? Strategic plan to rescue El Chapo or domestic terror. Now, before you say that sounds impossible, let's not forget that El Chapo has successfully escaped from 2 Mexican prisons. The first was in 2001 when he bribed some prison guards who smuggled him out in a laundry cart. Then, The most audacious escape happened in 2015 when he vanished through a tunnel dug right under his cell's shower. Also, remember in 2019 when Mexican forces captured one of his sons, Ovidio Guzman, the cartel launched a full-blown military-style assault. They rolled out Barrett, Cals, belt-fed machine guns, even drones, and forced the government to release him or face mass casualties. And guess what? The Mexican government did exactly as they asked. So, would it really be so crazy to think they could attempt to break their father out of a US prison? Especially since the prison is located in a place notorious for cartel violence. Hear what Mike Glover, an ex-Special Forces soldier who was formerly stationed in that area, has to say about it.
I was a team sergeant there. I was told, hey, if you're gonna come live here, stay away from Puebla, because it was crime-ridden and had a lot of cartel that were there. It's known for having cartel that are there and active.
Now, away from the El Chapo prison break narrative, Pueblo also sits right in the backyard of Fort Carson. For some of our non-US audience, this place is one of the largest and most active US Army bases in the country. It's home to several major units, including the 4th Infantry Division and the 10th Special Forces Group, which handles some of the US military's most sensitive missions. But that's not all. Also nearby is Peterson Space Force Base, Schriever Space Force Base, NORAD, and Northcom headquarters, all in the Colorado Springs area. These bases deal with everything from space defense to homeland security coordination. So, you can already tell that if the cartel members were trying to carry out a serious act of domestic terror or to disrupt America's military infrastructure, this region would be a high-value target. But it gets even more disturbing, because in the very same week, the 2 Mexican guys were captured with a large cache of ammunition. Another man was caught in Wyoming, carrying 18,000 rounds. And guess what? He was driving on the same route. The Wyoming Connection. On March 14, 2024, a man named Ricardo Paez Quinones was arrested in Rawlins, Wyoming. And just like the Cannon City suspects, he wasn't a US citizen. In fact, he was an illegal immigrant who had already been deported from the United States. Not once, but twice. So, on that particular day, Quinones was driving east through Wyoming from Utah when the Wyoming state troopers pulled him over. They stopped him because he was doing 89 in a 75 zone. Nothing serious, right? But when the officers walked up to the car, they noticed something suspicious. The vehicle was packed with items. When the troopers asked him what he was carrying, Quinones, who barely spoke English, said he was taking his girlfriend to target practice. But when asked if he owned any guns, he said he didn't. And he also didn't have any permits or legal status. Meanwhile, inside the car, the officers found boxes of what looked like high-caliber rifle ammunition. 36 boxes of ammunition, each box holding 500 rounds. That's a total of 18,000 rounds of 7.6 2mm rifle ammo. They also found some kilos of coke inside the car and a large amount of cash. Quinones had just come from Utah, the exact same state where the 2 Colorado suspects purchased their 180,000 rounds. And if you look at a map, the route from Utah through Wyoming into Colorado is exactly the same path the Cannon City suspects were using to head into Pueblo. 3 non-citizens, nearly 200,000 rounds of combat-level ammo, all of them coming out of Utah, all of them headed toward Pueblo, Colorado, and all caught completely by accident during simple traffic stops. The ammo they were carrying was the same caliber. The method of transport was similar, and the fact that these people were given specific instructions and were not communicating openly with their handlers just tells you that this wasn't their first time. Ammo stores, visa loopholes, and US security failures. By now, you're probably asking the same question as everyone else. How is it even possible for illegal immigrants and foreign nationals to walk into stores in the US and buy nearly 200,000 rounds of rifle ammo legally? That's exactly what happened here. According to the arrest reports and affidavits, all 3 men, Humberto Ivan, Cesar Ramon, and Ricardo Paez Quinones, purchased their ammo from gun stores and ammo dealers in Utah. They walked in, paid for the rounds, loaded up their vehicles, and drove off. There were no background checks, no ID flags, no store clerk who thought, hey, this seems suspicious. So how did this happen? Well, because in many states, including Utah, ammunition sales don't require the same checks as gun sales. They often don't ask you for a license. They don't do any background checks. In most cases, you don't even need to explain why you're buying ammo.
What is going on with these ammunition stores in Utah selling large quantities of ammo to illegal aliens, non-residents, non-citizens in Utah? What the hell is going on? Like, how is that acceptable?
So technically, as long as no one asks the right questions, you can walk out with enough ammo to arm a small army, and that's exactly what these guys did. And that is the problem. None of them were legally allowed to possess that ammo. According to federal law, anyone who enters the US on a non-immigrant visa is prohibited from owning or possessing firearms or ammunition unless they meet very specific exceptions, which these men clearly didn't. And Ricardo Quinones wasn't just on a visa. He was illegally present in the country, having been deported twice before. That means he shouldn't have been able to buy even a single bullet, let alone 18,000 rounds. So, this is a clear case of systemic failure that exposes a dangerous loophole in US security policy. Across the country, ammunition is often less regulated than the firearms themselves. You could have all the checks in place for someone buying a rifle, but none for the guy buying the bullets that go inside it. And even if a sale is suspicious, many store owners don't report it because they're either afraid of losing business or simply have no legal requirement to flag it. But the consequences of that loophole are now on full display. If those stops hadn't happened, and if those deputies hadn't been very careful, those men would have made it to Pueblo with all that ammo, and we wouldn't have known anything about it. And even now, with all the evidence on the table, federal agencies are still struggling to figure out who sent them, who was waiting to receive the ammo, and what the real plan was. But even though we can't say for sure what the plan was, we know that if those ammunition had made it into the streets, the story coming out of Colorado would have been much worse. Trump border strategy under fire. Just on April 27, 2025, a DEA-led raid in Colorado Springs uncovered a fully functioning illegal cartel nightclub.
This is something else, and this video goes on and on. This is 3 a.m. Sunday morning, Colorado Springs. In the end, there were about 300 people inside, about 100 said to be illegal arrested. Over the weekend, massive multi-agency raid at this underground nightclub.
This was a high-level criminal operation where patrons were presented with drug menus, illegal weapons, and connections to some of the most dangerous cartel members in the world. At least 2 of the arrested illegal immigrants had outstanding warrants for different criminal cases, and 12 firearms were recovered on site. According to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, federal agencies, including the DEA, FBI, ICE, ATF, and U.S. Marshals, worked together to plan and execute the takedown.
During the Biden administration, they received 170 911 calls to that club alone. That club we were just watching, 170 calls. Wouldn't you think that would have been a red flag? Nothing happened. Guns, shootings, ag batteries, nothing happened. So under Donald Trump, DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals, ATF, ICE, everyone went in together. DEA led this investigation, went in, got 115 illegal immigrants.
Right.
One of the people arrested inside the nightclub was reportedly a known member of the Sinaloa cartel, the same El Chapo's cartel that we're suspecting orchestrated the Colorado and ammo drops.
We're still working on the exact numbers. I know we've identified at least one Sinaloa cartel member. There were definitely MS-13 and TDA members. We're still working on the exact numbers.
Now, it is really hard to imagine that such a dangerous nightclub was operating near some of the major military bases we mentioned earlier, located in Colorado. You'd think an area like that would be locked down tight, but instead, the cartels were holding parties where some active-duty military personnel were reportedly working as security guards and selling drugs. With this report, a lot of people are now questioning whether President Trump's hard stance on immigration and war against the cartels is really making any difference. Yes, he has locked down the southern border, but the cartels have simply shifted tactics. They're no longer attempting to cross the border. They're now flying into America. Some people believe that while the president has put a lot of measures in place to stop them from coming, the bureaucratic chaos in the American system is frustrating his effort.
The governor, though, is furious over an order from a federal judge in Miami who says that local law enforcement is not allowed to arrest suspected illegals who enter Florida, despite a new law that declares that a misdemeanor. Instead, she says those arrests have to be made by federal agents. She has threatened to hold the attorney general in contempt of court after he said he couldn't stop law enforcement from making those arrests.
The truth is, you can't really have effective immigration enforcement, or any enforcement for that matter, if you have very elaborate and sometimes unnecessary procedures that you have to go through. Anyway, what do you think of this whole situation in the United States? Do you think Trump's border plan is really working, or has it just pushed the cartels to get smarter and deadlier? Do you think the judges are doing the right thing with all the restrictions to protect these illegals? Or do you think they should cut the Trump administration some slack to get these people out? And how about El Chapo? Do you think his sons and the Sinaloa cartel would dare to launch an attack on US soil to rescue him? Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth videos like this. Meanwhile, you should click on any of the cards on your screen right now to watch more of our videos.